Hi there, this is Nicole Spohr and welcome back to my channel. Today I have my Day 10 Handmade Hearts and Things 2021 card share. And today, while I am definitely doing some Valentine's-y themed cards with some Distress Oxides, the Valentine's edition, these cards could be used for any time as I created or made them into thank you heart themed cards. So it's one of my favorite things to do. I thought we would start by doing a little comparison of Distress Oxide inks. I posted a photo on my Instagram where I am comparing the new KITSCH Flamingo Distress Oxide ink with spun sugar, picked raspberry, candied apple, and festive berries. So I did a collection of 6 colors that I felt worked really nicely, and worn lipstick, I'm so sorry. So 6 colors, and I felt these colors worked really well together for Valentine's. So I did KITSCH Flamingo first, as it's the new one, and then spun sugar. That was the combination I just shared. Next we have worn lipstick, and I'm making sure to clean my blender brush really good each time so you really see the true color. So there's a combination of spun sugar, KITSCH Flamingo, and worn lipstick. Next up we have picked raspberry, which is definitely the more bright pink of the combination, I would say. There it is with the KITSCH Flamingo. I like showing you just the difference because I think it's really hard to see the differences in color when you just look at them, but when compared side by side, it makes a huge difference. I will tell you that I have had quite a few requests on my Instagram post and then some DMs and things asking for more of these comparisons of the distress colors. If you guys want to see more of that, would you please drop me a note and let me know? I would totally be up for creating comparisons of the colors so you can really see what they all look like, how the new colors mix in to previously released colors. I think it would be a really fun challenge and series to do here on my YouTube channel. So please definitely drop me a note and let me know. My last 2 colors are going to be obviously more in the red family with festive berries and the candied apple. So there is the whole row of hearts. I forgot to mention, this is the Simon Says Stamp etched linear heart. I wanted to do some heart themed cards and I decided to use some Simon Says Stamp products that are currently on sale. So as of the time this video is going live, they are on sale. I do not know how long they will be on sale, but if you want to grab some great products at some discounted prices, this would be a good time. In addition to that etched linear heart, this simple Duo Stencil set, which is the hearts and the stars. I actually used these hearts on another video recently. They are also on sale. So I thought it would be fun. The great thing about Distress Oxides is they are going to show up on darker cardstock. They have that pigment ink in them, so it kind of sits on top of the cardstock. This is some Simon Says Stamp fog cardstock, and I thought we would create an ombre effect of those same 6 colors we used for the etched linear heart with this stenciled background. And so I'm just kind of moving from one color to another. Starting from the left, we have candied apple, festive berries, worn lipstick, picked raspberry. Here's the KITSCH Flamingo, the brand new color, and finally spun sugar. These colors are going to follow the design of the hearts when I lay them down here on my panel. I picked a slimline design style for my card today because I thought that way I could fit all my hearts. So sometimes my cards are inspired by what I want to do. That will help me determine the size I'm going to use to create the card. This panel, I will mention, is 3 inches by 8 1/4, I want to say. I believe that is correct. The card base, or yes, I believe so. 8 1/4 by 3¼ So that was a lie. I paused this and went and measured it. It's 3 by 8 inches. That is how the size I trimmed my fog cardstock before stenciling. Then I thought it'd be fun to distress the background just a tiny bit, so I have some picket fence distress paint, watered down with about 1 squirt, I think, of water, and I'm taking a small paintbrush and just kind of flicking and tapping little droplets all over the panel. Because it's watered down, it's not going to be super bright white, and it's just going to create a nice little bit of distressing to this background. I want to set that aside to completely dry. I also kind of walked away from this for a little bit. These are Distress Oxide inks. They need to dry all the way before you attempt to do any embossing or anything like that. So the embossing powder only sticks to the stamped area. You could also speed that process up with a heat tool, but I ended up coming back probably an hour, hour and a half later to do this step. So I always like to let you guys know, my preference is almost always air drying, just as I find it works the best. It's going to be the same for the next card. I walked away from that one for probably 2 hours before coming back and doing any of the stamping and embossing. This sentiment thank you that I'm stamping right on this etched linear heart is from the Thankful Flowers stamp set, also on sale. I'm going to tell you guys that everything but the nested banners was on sale. The Simon Says Stamp products I'm using was on sale at the time that this video goes live. Again, I cannot guarantee that they'll still be on sale, but I did want to let you know that. This is one of my favorite stamp sets as far as sentiments. There's beautiful florals in it too, but I love, love, love the stamps, the greetings in this set. So I'm going to heat emboss thank you with white embossing powder. Now it's going to be a cool effect because the side of the heart that has the linear lines, it'll have the lines in the embossing. I think it looks so stinking cool when it's all done. I also adhered my hearts one over the top of each other in the background, except for my thank you KITSCH flamingo heart. Of course, I made it the focal point of this card, and I popped him up with some foam adhesive. That way it really kind of draws your eye in. So the rest is like the supporting cast of characters, and then we've got that beautiful thank you. In addition, we're going to stamp My Heart is Full. This is from the Botanical Flowers, or Botanical Heart, pardon me, stamp set. Also on sale right now at Simon. I also really, really love this one. And I am going to stamp and emboss this little phrase with some Gina K Red Hot embossing powder before die cutting with a nested banner die. I will tell you, and I want to make sure to let you know, the nested banner not on sale right now. So just a little note, you can totally cut your strip with your scissors or your paper trimmer. You do not have to have a die. I just always tend to really, really like having a die for that clean finished edge. And then we're going to pop this underneath the thank you, putting foam adhesive only under the part of the strip that is not over the heart. So you'll see that here in just a second. Let's get that die cut first. Very simple card design, but lots of fun inking going on, which I always really love. So I kind of played around with that. I love how this looks, but I feel like it needs just a little something else. And I noticed one of my favorite Simon products that has been out for many, many years. Like, I think it might be one of the first things that was released when Simon started their own brand of product, is the Hearts and Stars die. There's several different heart dies from that time period that I absolutely love, but teeny tiny little hearts and stars are my love language. I think they work in so many different ways on so many different cards. And so I am actually going to create some coordinating little mini hearts that I can scatter throughout my design to finish off my card. But I want them to perfectly match. And in order to do that, I'm just going to ink up on this scrap piece of white cardstock several colors of those Distress Oxide inks that I used for my hearts and for my background, and then I'm going to die cut from each of these colors the hearts from the Hearts and Stars die. So I'm just going to kind of tape it in place, run it through, and pop it out. It is a little strip die, so everything will die cut at once. I'm just die cutting the heart part. So I'm just kind of playing around with these first ones, and I was like, yep, that is what this card needed. So let's go ahead and die cut the rest of those colors. And I'm actually going to get enough by die cutting these 4 Distress Oxide ink colors. I did Festive Berries, Picked Raspberry, KITSCH Flamingo, and Spun Sugar. I'm going to have enough hearts for both this card and my next card, plus I think I ended up with 3 extra hearts that I can save for another project. We're going to glue these in place, scattered throughout. I'm even going to layer like the smallest heart on the bigger one. I say bigger, but these are all teeny tiny, just to give a little bit more depth and dimension. Once I am done adding these hearts to my card, I'm going to then take some glossy accents that I have a fine tip applicator on, and I'm going to cover just these little mini hearts with glossy accents so they look like an epoxy sticker and they have that beautiful glossy finish when dried. And I think the addition of those little hearts scattered around really finishes off this card perfectly, and I love, love, love how it turned out. So definitely take your heart themed products and see if you can create cards for other occasions and seasons with them to extend the life of maybe what could be considered a Valentine's product. By all means, you could also add Valentine's greetings to this exact card design, and you instantly have a beautiful Valentine. So I loved the first card so much that I thought I would take the Love on a Line wafer dies, which I have created another card with these. I will link to that at the end of this video for another idea on how to use them. But this is a pretty new product from Simon that is on sale right now, which is incredible. So brand kind of new, or at least new to me, I've only created a couple of other, is the mini slimline card size, which is 3 1/8 by 6 1/4 inches. And I thought it would be fun. We have the slimline to create a mini slimline with this Love on a Line, but let's also go ahead and ink up each section of our Love on a Line with the Distress Oxide ink colors to really create that beautiful ombre effect. Now, if you change it out and use Valentine's greetings, this is going to be a fantastic little Valentine card. I also think that you could make more of a masculine, I guess, type of Valentine card with it by maybe sticking more to the reds. I don't know. There are probably a lot of different ways you can do it. I don't think these cards, I mean, Valentine's colors tend to be awfully girly, but I think these don't have like the flowers and all of the cutesy type of things to them. It's basically just some hearts. So I think these could be made into a guy Valentine pretty easily. I even really like, this is completely separate from Valentine's Day, but laying out these layers like this, don't you think this is kind of pretty white on white, like a wedding type of card? I could see being made with this and being really, really pretty. Very subtle. So I kind of thought I would use this bigger sentiment, but it just really wasn't working out. I played around with a lot of different sentiments. I didn't want to grab another stamp set, and I ended up using the Thankful Flowers for this, and I love how it turned out. But let's go ahead and ink up each section of our Love on a Line. This time we are going to be adding some distressing. So these are oxides, distress inks as well. You can add water to them and the water is going to wick away, leaving you with those lighter little areas. Well, I thought it would be really cool ink these all up, spritz them with a little bit of water, and let that do its thing. And then we will even splatter some of that white picket fence paint over the top as well to really give them a little bit more texture, almost like each piece is a pattern paper, maybe in a collection. You know how you often get your paper pack and it has several colors and they all have the same pattern, they're just in a different color. That's kind of what I was going for here, and just to kind of show how the oxides can be flat like the hearts on the first card, or they can be distressed like the Love on a Line pieces on this one. Now the piece that I have the L on is going to be the biggest, and that's also going to end up being where I stamp my sentiment. This card did not come to me quite as easily as the first one. I played around with, do I want to make this a slimline? And I really felt like there was a lot of wasted space, so I didn't. Did I want to make just a traditional A2 size card, which I think would have been very cute? Or I ultimately obviously decided on the mini slimline because I think this size is really cute, compact, and fun, and ended up working really nicely with this. But I will need to trim down my background panels just a little bit. And they each measure 3 inches tall. And I was really, really aware of making sure that I got them as even as possible. There's that distress sprayer. Look how awesome that oxidation looks on each of those pieces. Here's a little white paint. It looks much darker when it's wet. As it dries and it is absorbed into the paper, I think it lightens a little bit, but I really love the effect. These are going to need to sit and dry for a while. So this is what I was talking about with the first card. Before I do my stamping and embossing on the first little piece here, this is going to need to sit and dry. You can speed that up with a heat tool if you want to. I think I went and made lunch and did all that kind of stuff and then came back after lunch to finish these. So once they are dry, that's when I'm going to trim these down. There are some things I can do in the meantime. I'm going to grab some cardstock to make my card base. Again, a mini slimline. Measures 3 1/8 by 6 1/4. And Simon Says Stamp has some really fantastic little mini slimline envelopes that I just love, that work really nice to send this size of card in. Now that my backgrounds have dried, I want to lay them all out. Look how pretty that is, you guys. I absolutely love this. I also want to tell you, I did not use candied apple on this card. So I only used 5 colors of Distress Oxide ink as opposed to all 6 that I used on the first card in my Rainbow Distress Oxide edition type of projects today. And then I'm going to play around with some different sentiments. This is just kind of the process it takes. I ultimately decided on this. I like how that looks. Once I have a good idea of what I want this to look like, it's time to trim everything down, put everything together, place this on my mini slimline card base, and then add the finishing touches. I did grab some of those extra hearts just to kind of give me an idea. I like how that looks. Let's go for it. And again, you can see I had originally thought I might go with that more slimline style of card, but I think I'm going to like it in the mini size a little bit better, because look at all that space. I didn't ink up all that space either. I played around with, maybe I want to add another color clear over here on the right. Well, I didn't really like that either. I didn't like how the design looked that way. Wanted to leave this in to just really show you kind of my thought process and where I was going. I grabbed my ruler there a second ago. I don't know, I've sped this up, but I grabbed my ruler and I was like, yeah, it's going to fit the mini slimline. Let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to trim down a card base. And then what I found worked well is once these are trimmed down each of the Love on a Line panels, I want to then adhere them one under another, if that makes sense, lining them up, and then I'm going to take the whole thing to my mini slimline card. Now, I adhered all 5 layers and then took my paper trimmer and trimmed it down to 3 inches. I would really recommend, if you don't want to trim them all down ahead of time, my recommendation would be to maybe adhere a couple of them and trim it down. My paper trimmer didn't love trying to cut through all of those layers. Even though it's not the whole layer underneath each, it was pretty thick and it didn't like it. I was able to get it cut, but I think if I had to do it over, I would just place a couple of them together and then trim them up. I like doing it this way because it really gives me a little bit of freedom to make sure everything is lined up perfectly. Let's go trim that down. As I mentioned, my trimmer didn't like that. And that looks great. Let's go ahead, and I just marked where I wanted to trim my L panel. And there is my background. I like that the heart hangs off the edge just a tiny bit. It will still fit in an envelope. I tried it. The envelope is a little bit bigger, so this will fit in nicely, but if you want to, you can always trim that flush with the side of the card. I am going to stamp and emboss Thank You for Everything from the Thankful Flowers stamp set on a scrap of smooth white cardstock using clear embossing ink and heat embossing with the Red Hot embossing powder. I like that red. You could also use a red ink if you wanted to. And then I'm going to die cut this with a nested banner die. And then we are going to stamp You Couldn't Be More Awesome, again from the Thankful Flowers stamp set. There right to the left of the letter L on the Love on a Line, using clear embossing ink and heat embossing with white embossing powder. Now, because this is a big sentiment with a lot of like surface area, I want to stamp it a couple of times, one on top of another, to make sure I get a really good stamped impression before adding my white embossing powder. And this is the step that you need to make sure your background is completely dry. If you ever need to test it, just put a little embossing powder on it and see if it slides off before you stamp. And if it sticks anywhere, it's probably not dry. Mine slid right off. I did that off camera. And so I went ahead and stamped this, sprinkled on my white embossing powder, and heat set it. I like how it's nice and light, but still very readable against that light pink spun sugar background. And then we have the nice, bright, bold red sentiment for the little strip right underneath. The final thing that we're going to do to finish off our card is take 3 of those little hearts from the Hearts and Stars dies that we created for the first card, the leftovers, and we are going to pop one in the center of the heart on the Love on a Line, and we're going to add 2 up above the stamped and embossed sentiment on the left side of the card and add glossy accents to all of these. Isn't this a cute, fun little size? I just love how this turned out. I think it is a great way to showcase some of your favorite distress colors, whether it's regular distress inks or distress oxides. Maybe switch it up and do rainbow colors or shades of blue, whatever the case may be. But it's a great die collection and can be used in so many different ways. The dies are super long for Love on a Line, so you can even make a vertical slimline if you wanted to. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this Handmade Hearts and Things Distress Oxide Valentine's Edition video. The supplies I used to create my cards are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here is another video featuring some Simon Says Stamp products that you might be interested in. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell to never miss a new card making video. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you next time.